So Advent calendar for this year, let's hear some interesting statistics, and I'll give you a breakdown of how I think the story plays out. This year we used 3,865 photos, taking up 5.14 gigabytes, 316 individually rendered scenes, taking up 57.6 gigabytes, 15 music tracks, 91 background elements, and 6 hours of work average daily. Final episode took 12 hours, and that's including render time. This year's Advent calendar has been the most technically challenging, not to mention the most commitmentally challenging. I put a lot of work in every day on the Advent calendar, and yes, the results speak for themselves. It's pretty amazing, but I can't deny that there were times when it just felt like, no, I just want to play games today, I don't want to do it. But of course I quickly kicked that voice right in the teeth and tell it to bug off. If we're comparing this year to previous years, in the first year, Advent 07, was 2 minutes and 13 seconds long, and it was filmed on my desk using Blu-Tack. I mean, I still use Blu-Tack, but it was just right on my desk. Advent 08 ran for 3 minutes and 52 seconds, although I didn't actually make the final closing part of the story until 2009. In fact, after I finished the 2009 calendar. And Advent 09, which was, you know, it's getting there. People quite like the whole sledding, skiing thing, and then of course it went completely downhill as soon as I tried to. Yeah, it just got weird. It always gets weird, but it got weird. And that ran for 3 minutes and 8 seconds, so not quite as good as the year before. But this year, Advent 2010, runs for 9 minutes and 50 seconds. Now, it's not quite as long as all of them put together. No, wait. Let me just check my math. And looking at Advent 2010, has a total runtime of 9 minutes and 50 seconds. That's longer than the 3 previous years put together. And I think there's a lot more quality in that space as well. Of course, as ever, there were a number of concessions that I had to make. You see our beautiful lady here? Oh, what's this? Yes, when she came out the box, she had a skirt. And of course, as you saw from the Queen, when they have a skirt, all they can do is slide. And so, for my own sanity, I got a pair of green legs from the old Lego box, so that she could do flips. Whoa! And of course, another concession I had to make was with the catapult. We were in the middle of the throne room, and I really couldn't think of a way to bring the catapult into it, and so it was on screen for a few milliseconds. I didn't know the Queen's face could rotate. I didn't figure that out until I actually took her hair off to put some Blu-Tack in to stop it from rotating when I turned her head, and saw, hey, she has 2 faces. I should put a joke in there. And I knew, because it had it on the box, that I was going to get a wizard at the very end, and of course he was wearing blue. And the problem with the blue wizard on a blue screen is that it kind of makes the keying impossible. And so the other side of the blue screen has green on it, because that way I could key the wizard in green. But no, because apparently yellow and green are too close together for the shade of green that I picked. Well, okay, I was just using paint, but yeah, it didn't work. So instead I used a pillowcase, which was red, and I red screened them, and just had to do my best to try and correct it. In fact, if you look at the wizard, he looks definably green. Now, the last time we had a medieval calendar, I was told I got a bit carried away with the violence in Advent 08. And in fact, yeah, the majority of the video is the guy slashing people and skeletons trying to mace him. And of course the fact that it didn't actually end until 2009, yeah. And so this year I tried to avoid that as best as possible, and if you look carefully, I think you'll find there's only 3 actual combat scenes this year. Awesome combat scenes, with flips and bullet time, and jumping off cliffs. Of course the story is the hardest part to get right, because I don't know what's coming up every day. With the exception of a few items which are drawn on the box, which I can't help but see when you pick the box up, I don't know what I'm going to get through 1 to 25. And constructing a daily story around that, something that's going to evolve and shift every day for 25 days, well, it's not the easiest task. If you look at 07, whoa, that was a shambles. We're going for something like 24. 08 was just an excuse for LEGO combat. 09 started quite cutesy. This year, I think I actually have a story, albeit one that's a little confusing us at the start because it jumps around. But the moment the blacksmith's in the jail, then things are, yeah, chronologically from there. And we go from combat scene to combat scene. What? So, the story of LEGO Advent 2010. Here's how I thought it went down. I think the easiest way to explain the story is thus. The blacksmith is in his forge, forging a sword, when he hears an explosion. He goes out to check it, and he sees the Black Knight burning down this house. The blacksmith tries to be rid of him, but the Black Knight throws a flame bomb at him, and when he wakes up he's in the snow. He hobbles back into his forge and collapses. The Black Knight has already gone to the tower by this point, and the Queen, in a last-ditch effort to get some help, sends out her frog, which sends a message to the blacksmith. The blacksmith leaves to go to the tower to try and help the Queen, when we see the skeleton of the woman who died in the burning of the house. And she finds the frog and sees the same message as him, and she goes to help the blacksmith. And by that point the blacksmith was through the tower and confronting the Black Knight on the tower top, where he got beaten and then put into the dungeon. The woman's skeleton comes to help him, releases him from the dungeon, and that's where they find the prince, an ally of the Black Knight. The prince leads them to a sword and stone, classic staple, where the Black Knight has tried to pull the sword but failed, and the blacksmith tries to pull the sword and fails. The skeleton pulls the sword out, except the skeleton was expecting resistance and the sword goes flying. The Black Knight finally has the sword, and that's when we engage in our first combat section. But of course, this sword is the skeleton sword, and so when the Black Knight kills the skeleton with the sword, all it does is regenerate the skeleton back into how she was before she died. Are you following so far? Because it's a sword of good, not a sword of evil, and so it can't do evil. And so the woman picks up the Black Knight's old sword and they begin to fight. She kicks the keg, the Black Knight falls into the pot and runs away, but not before he's lost the sword into the ceiling. The woman tries to put the sword back in the stone, but the prince wanted the sword for himself all along, hence why he brought them to the stone. We cut to the throne room, where the prince reveals his allegiance with the Black Knight, and the Queen is brought back into the fold and shown being overthrown by the prince. But of course the guard guarding them gets shot in the back by a crossbowman, and the Black Knight uses this opportunity when no one's looking to kill the prince and take back the sword, and he flees. Our heroes pursue the Black Knight. In the meantime, the Queen consults with the court wizard, who makes his way to the Black Knight's battle scene as quickly as he can, surely. In the meantime, the woman and the blacksmith are busy fighting the Black Knight, and it seems the only way they're going to be able to beat him is by sacrificing her life by charging him off the edge of a cliff. And it works. The wizard turns up and brings all the bodies and the sword back up to the top. The Queen had asked the wizard to get rid of the sword, and of course, when the wizard sees the blacksmith very unhappy about the re-scarification of the woman, rather than simply destroying the sword outright, the wizard uses the power of the sword to bring back our woman. Yes. And they and the Queen has her crown back, the wizard probably goes off and smokes a pipe, and the blacksmith and the lady go back to the village. Now of course I'm not saying that this is the only correct interpretation of the story. For all I know, I could be way off base. What do you think the story means? Leave a comment. Or don't. Leave a comment. That about sums it up for Advent 2010. Next year, who knows what we'll have? Last year I had the choice between a city and a pirates calendar, and in hindsight I should have got the pirates calendar. So hopefully again this year we'll have a choice between a city calendar and something else, be it pirates or hopefully not medieval again. Either way, you'll either get city or something completely different. And with any luck, it'll be as good if not better than this year. To those of you who watched daily, thank you. To those of you who have only just seen the full, complete length, thank you. For those of you who haven't watched this video or any of my videos, zark off. For now, I'm R3DMM. This is the world's tallest doctor.